Well, hello, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of the Maddfuzzy Podcast. I am your sock-obsessed host, Marta, and on usual podcast episodes, this is a podcast all about knitting and spinning and hand-dyeing yarn from my little rural paradise here in Knox, Maine. However, this episode is just a little different. I am going to show you all the yarn that I've dyed for my shop update. That is going to be Friday the 30th, 8 p.m. on Etsy. I'm going to talk a lot about Maddfuzzy and my process. And yeah, that's about it. There's going to be no knitting. So if you are a new viewer, this is not a usual episode. Go back one, or one before that, or one before that, because those are normal. This is not normal. So usually they don't come out this quickly either. So yeah, lots of fun things to show you. It's an extremely snowy day here in Maine. It's just coming down. I'm supposed to be going to a concert later tonight down in New Hampshire. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm taking this morning to get some Maddfuzzy things out of the way, such as this video, and photographing all my yarn for my update. So if you are new, you probably don't know anything about Maddfuzzy. Maddfuzzy is, I say it's my hand-dyed yarn company, but it's a lot more than that. There is so much that goes into making every skein of Maddfuzzy. So I find the farmers in Maine. Currently I'm using East Frisian, and I'm using a BFL Cheviot cross. The East Frisian's kind of been my bread and butter for a while now. I've actually bought her out of her white fleeces. So I have to find a couple more dairy farmers in the area who are milking East Frisian so I can continue that line. But yeah, I've bought a whole shearing and a half already, so I'm excited about that. Thank you guys. It wouldn't have been possible without the customers, for sure. So I go to these different farms and I skirt the fleeces. I skirt very aggressively. These animals are not fiber animals. They are not pastured in pastures that would take care of their fleeces. They are, really, they're either going to be meat sheep or they're going to be milked. They're not thinking about their fleeces. Fleeces are something that kind of, they grow and then they shear them and they don't really have a true value. That's not how they're paying for their sheep. They're paying with the meat and the milk. So it's not an ideal fiber as it comes off the animal. And I aggressively skirt it. I would say I skirt more than I would if I was hand processing it. I know that when I take things to the mill, he is going to charge me on what just comes through the door. Whether that is a pound and a half of wool filled with shavings or a pound of wool not filled with shavings. So I aggressively skirt. I take all the things that are possibly too matted, possibly too long, anything that has a copious amount of shavings or grass in it. Of course, burdocks are always a problem. And the little tips on the grass, and they make those little pods, and yeah, those get stuck in there too. So I aggressively skirt. I would say I lose about 40% of the fleece at that point. So I'll compost it, or we'll put it in a bag for like a bigger mill that's going to do a big wool blanket. They're just going to combine all the wool together and spin a wool yarn. That's everything. So we'll either high grade it for my stuff, or I'll put it in the compost, or it'll go to a bigger mill. But I'll take about 40% off of the fleece at that point, because I don't want to be paying for grass and felted things, and anything that falls through his dehair at the mill or anything that falls off of the carter, I'm still paying for that. So I need to be very conscious about what I take off the fleeces in the very beginning. I also will I'll bring them up to the mill, which as I said, I filmed that video. I'm very excited to bring that to you. And I tell Andy really what I want. When I was developing this East Frisian yarn, I knew I wanted something very high twist, because that is going to create a long wearing sock. The fleeces themselves have an extremely long staple length. He's only able to spin about 6 inches on his heads. The point between one head and the other is only 6 inches long. So if I have a fleece that's longer than that, they'll get stuck in, and that's how you get those schlubs in yarn, is a fleece that has a longer staple length. This is really a problem with the mini mill that he uses. There are other mills that can handle much longer staple lengths, but a 6-inch staple length is pretty freaking long. That's not a short fleece whatsoever. So a really long staple length is going to create a really long wearing yarn. Because if you think about it, yarn is all these strings coming together, and the more ends there are, the more breaks in it, the weaker it's going to be, and the more easily it's going to felt, which is why merino, such a small staple length, felt so quickly. So you'll notice that my yarn is not going to pill very quickly. It's not going to wear very quickly. My mother, she said I could use her as a kind of reference. She actually has been washing her Maddfuzzy socks. I give her one for Christmas and birthday and things like that. And she has been washing her Maddfuzzy socks in the washing machine for over a year now. And she says all the other ones I've knit her, because I knit her some out of different yarns. One I spun out of a merino blend, one that I believe was a commercial yarn that was merino that had been hand dyed. And that one's all felted up and pilled. And she says mine has not pilled whatsoever. So that's a testimony to what a good staple length, a hardy yarn can do. This is not like a super soft yarn. It's not going to make, an ideal cowl. I wouldn't make a cowl out of it. I think it would itch so much. And really only recently did I think, maybe mittens would be okay with this. But socks. I'm a sock obsessed human. I love socks, and I love a good long wearing, warm, not smelly sock. And that's what you're going to get with Maddfuzzy, because it's not super wash, but because it is such a long staple length, because it is such a hardy wool, it's going to be washable pretty much. I would be careful if you really are concerned, hand wash it or delicate cycle, but people are telling me they're not having any issues. So and then because it's non-superwash, you're going to keep that property of water being wicked away from your skin, the warmth when wet, and the antimicrobial properties of wool. So there's all kinds of good things that come with a non-superwash wool that's long wearing, long staple length, and made specifically for socks. Now I throw that nylon in there too. I do a 20% nylon blend, and that just is for extra longevity and a little sparkle. I love a little sparkle. I'm one of those sparkle girls. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into a fleece, and I'll load up my Subaru with fleeces. I bring it up to the mill. He washes it, and instantly I lose 45%. I've already lost 40% of the fleece. Now I'm going to lose another 40% of the total weight. 35 to 40%, really depends on the fleece. But that's going to be from the washing of all the lanolin out. When he puts it through the carder and dehair, those shavings are going to fall out. And believe it or not, shavings weigh something. When you're thinking about fiber and how light and fluffy that is and how much fiber it takes to make a pound, a few shavings in there actually adds a couple grams. So once it goes through that, I actually now have lost a considerable amount of that fleece. So if I had 10 pounds, I now have 6.5 pounds. So no matter how much I put in my car, I'm not getting a whole lot back. And I kind of give you an idea of how much I'm getting back and why I dye things in such small numbers. So I went up and picked up this last milling, and this was I believe 11 pounds of white when I dropped it off, 5 pounds of black, and like 4 pounds of gray. And in the end, when it all came down to it, I ended up with 46 skeins. So that's about 10-ish pounds of overall yarn. So as you can see, it starts getting smaller and smaller. And 46 skeins is not a lot of yarn. Guys, I heard a thing on the Stranded podcast. She had apologized for not dyeing as many as she did. She only had dyed 50 skeins, and I'm thinking 50, holy cow, that's a whole milling for me. That's 3 months of work. That's, an entire drive up to the mill, waiting for my mill time to be up. 50 skeins is a whole milling. So when you think about Maddfuzzy, you got to remember, it's not just my time that's stopping me from doing a large production. It really is how fast my mill can get through the yarn or the fiber I've dropped off, how much fiber I can fit in my car. My little Subaru really only holds about 30 pounds. I squeezed a 7th tub in there though this last milling, so I may be up to 40. Fingers crossed. That would be awesome. But, I'm not going to be getting 100 skeins of yarn anytime soon. I'm really at my maximum capacity right now, and he's busy. I had to bribe him with T-bone steaks the other day to get a milling time at the end of December. So that's when my next milling is going to be done. I have to make those 46 skeins last until December. So there's just not a lot coming in. It takes a lot to get it out. And that's why Maddfuzzy really is so rare at this moment. And every time somebody purchases a skein, they really are contributing to the next milling. And I can get a bigger milling and a bigger milling and a bigger milling until I get to the point where I can pay for my next milling without selling all the yarn from the last milling. And that's when I officially make it, guys. When I no longer run out of yarn before my next milling, I think that's like, hey, I've done it. But as of this moment, I have to sell pretty much everything from one milling to pay for a slightly larger next milling. And I keep increasing my millings bigger and bigger so that, I'm not going to be stuck at any point. I really am trying to grow this business, but it takes a lot of time. It takes, of course, contributions from my customers. Without you guys purchasing the skeins of yarn today, I will not have skeins tomorrow. So there is so much more that goes into this than just applying the color. I love being an indie dyer. I love dyeing yarn. I feel like I'm enjoying the process, but my heart truly is in yarn production. I love the idea of creating a base with a purpose to give you new sheep that are not the norms that people are dying on. I want you to buy Maddfuzzy and know that you're not getting something that anyone else is dying on. I don't order from the same shop as any other dyer in the world because I create my yarn from scratch. My yarn is only my yarn. Nobody else. I'm not a small farm either making one kind of yarn. I'm a hunter of fleeces. I am a envisioner of yarns with a purpose. So as Maddfuzzy grows, you're going to see a lot more bases. You're going to see a lot more different kinds of fleeces, different blends, but they're always going to have very specific purpose in mind and really show you what it's like to knit with a yarn designed for the project. Instead of, oh, it's soft, it's beautiful, but you're not going to be able to wear this merino sweater in 6 months because there's going to be so many pills in your armpits. It's just, I'm trying to take back the market and I need your help, honestly. Long story short, I'm trying to move away from yarns that are generic. I am trying to move away from yarns that are just soft for soft's sake. I'm trying to really bring back the people who produce yarn. Because now, we've got this huge culture of indie dyers who are amazing and beautiful and artists with color. But they're ordering the same yarn. The only thing that really separates one indie dyer from another is the colors they apply. And I have to say that's pretty difficult to be solely based on your dyeing merit. I'm cheating. I got something different. But it's not, I'm not going online and ordering 50 DK, 50 worsted, 50 fingering, and they're going to be here in 3 business days in a big box on my front porch. My process is so much more drawn out than that. There are definitely days where I've been banging my head against the wall being like, man, I really wish I could just order this crap off the internet. But I can't. It just takes a lot longer and it takes a lot more. And I'm also thinking that in the new year, I'm going to have to increase my prices because it really has taken more time than I ever could have imagined it could have. So that's what that's the price I pay for, I guess, being one of a kind. But I mean, I'm not saying it's bad to order yarn off the internet. There are a lot of great bare yarn sellers. There are ways that the dyer can trace and be sure that the animals who gave their fleeces are treated well, that they're not like in mass-produced farms. But really, you're always going to have to think about your carbon footprint with that, because the sheep are rarely raised where they're milled and where they're dyed. So, I mean, there's yarn going all over the world right now. So I'm trying to keep it small. I'm trying to keep it local. I feel like I kind of ranted for a little while here, and I'm sorry. I kind of just needed to get this off of my chest, because there's a reason that the yarn is only 2 skeins of this, 2 skeins of that. There is a reason that there are points when I completely run out of yarn. And there is a reason that you should purchase this, because I can trace every fleece. I can trace every yarn. I have been part of this process. I think the only way you can get any closer to, farm-raised yarn is to actually purchase from the farmers. And a lot of people who do that really only create one kind of yarn. Rarely are they creating a yarn and indie dyeing it. There are a couple out there that are fantastic and do, like Jaeger Spawn, Good Karma Farm in Belfast, or some that I can think of locally to me. But rarely is it 100% Maine-made. Rarely is it, if it is 100% farm-raised and traceable and sourced locally, rarely is it dyed. So I'm trying to bring together farm-raised yarns, farm animal to skein yarns, and indie dyeing, and that is where Maddfuzzy is. Somewhere between indie dyer and farm-raised yarns. Okay, so enough about the logistics. I'm sure you'll get a better idea of this when I upload my video on the mill trip and my video on skirting and dyeing. So I'm creating a whole series from sheep to skein kind of a thing. So let's look at some yarn. You've heard me talk for 17 minutes. So how about some yarn? Let's check this out. So I have a couple fun things going in the shop. Most of this update is going to be Pretty Tough, which is my 80% East Frisian wool and 20% Firestar nylon. I had some white, some black, and some gray up at the mill. And in the middle of the night, I had a panic moment where I realized the white had nylon, the black and the gray did not have nylon. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to make that a set. Do I remove the nylon from the white? I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, nope, we're adding nylon to everything. So everything sparkles. So that's what you're going to see here. I'm going to start with my gradient sets. I had talked about those on my last episode that I was going to be making gradient sets. And I did. I made 4 of them. They're all uniquely different. So there's only one of each color. And they're 50 grams a piece. And they'll come in the set of 3. So here's the first set. This is kind of a rusty red set. And you can see in the blacks, there'll be flecks of the color. And so that would be the gray over dyed and then the white. So that is the first one. That's kind of a coppery red. Remember I said there's only one of each of these. So once they're gone, they're gone. If one is extremely popular, anyone requests it, I will custom dye it. I still do have some of these. But other than that, there will just be these. So here is the other one. This is the black, has that blue in it. And it's amazing because it's like, there's like the tone of this blue, and then there's that little specks of the lighter. Almost looks like a tweed, but it's not as, like it's all one continuous feel, but you can see these little flecks. So there's that dark blue. And then I have this gorgeous mauve. So this is the mauve one that I'm just in love with. I think this one is my favorite. Don't tell the others. Sorry, I have a long Marta hair on that. So we have like the light mauve, the medium, and then the black with that mauve in the sparkle. And last is another favorite of mine. So the mauve and this one, I would have to say, if I didn't sell these, I'm knitting them into something. I'm absolutely obsessed with these. This is kind of a icy blue. There it is in the light, the gray, and the black. I can't believe how awesome this black looks. I'm so happy with it. So those are the gradient sets. Like I said, they're 50 grams a piece. They would be perfect for the jewel knot mittens. They would be perfect for a 3-color shawl, 3-color cowl. I mean, if you're pretty tough and you don't have as sensitive of a neck as I do, it would make a great cowl, hat, scarf. So they're gorgeous. All right, and now into the regular yarn. So like I said, these are pretty much all pretty tough, which 80-20 nylon blend. I did dye, let's see if I can't get them up right here. I did dye 2 more Season's Greetings. So we will have 2 more Season's Greetings. This is my Christmas colorway for the year. I noticed that Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions, as well as Celeste from Yarn to Table, are both knitting with Preppy Handbook. So I thought I would add some of those to the shop. So I've got 2 Preppy Handbooks. And Preppy Handbook is fun. It's like a kind of a quartzy pink, and then it's got flecks of blue and brown. So I've got that one. This one's going to be new to the shop. This was down at Heavenly Yarn. She bought me out of it because I just kind of done 1 or 2 skeins of it, and she liked it so much. But it was very popular at the shop, so I thought I'd dye some for my shop. This is Mr. Meeseeks. And Mr. Meeseeks is this seafoam green with these flakes of pink and purple. So that's Mr. Meeseeks. So I'll have 2 of those as well. I re-dyed For Your Pleasure Sister Golden Hair Surprise. That one went so fast on my website on the last update that I thought I would dye it again really fast for you. I will have 3 skeins of this one, so there is a bit more of this one. And then lastly is a one-of-a-kind colorway. I thought I was going to be able to repeat this. Everything was going well. And then as I pulled it out of the dye pot, it got kind of muddled more than it should have. And I reset it because it shouldn't have bled that much. And so it didn't bleed in the second wash. But the first wash, it kind of made everything sort of a purpley hue. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to replicate this. So this is Easter Basket, as Diane of Hubbard Brook wanted me to name it. She's like, it definitely looks like an Easter basket. So I'm naming this for you, Diane. Love ya. Hubbard Brook is where I'm currently have my dye studio. She weaves baskets. And so I'm dyeing yarn up in her little basket area. So this has a variety of greens in it, kind of a limey green, some purples, and then it's just sort of an overcast of purple. I'm really excited about this one. Too bad it's a one-of-a-kind. I do have 2 skeins of it, so yeah, if you'd like it, there are 2 skeins. So that's pretty much all I have. I didn't manage to list this last week. I do have one still of the Red Witch, and this is going to be in pure fuzzy. That is no nylon whatsoever. So that will be up in the shop as well. Yeah, so lots of yarn coming your way. Very excited. Very excited. I hope you can make it. Again, it is November 30th, 8 p.m. on Etsy. The link to the shop's down there. I'll be all over Instagram up this week, giving you little previews, promoting some yarn, getting you tempted. So, yeah, keep looking on Instagram. I am at Maddfuzzy on Instagram. And I hope you kind of enjoyed my little rant about Maddfuzzy, because it is really kind of a unique little business. It's more than just dyeing, and it's more than just producing yarn. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for looking at all my pretty yarn. I've been working hard. Thank you. Yeah, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm hoping to make it to my concert down in New Hampshire, but I might just end up knitting at home. Oh, wow. Well, I hope I see you at the shop update. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to email me if you see anything and you want it in a different quantity or vice versa or whatnot. So, yeah, my email, maddfuzzy@gmail.com. And, I hope you have a great day. Enjoy your knitting. Thanks for watching. And I will see you very soon for a regular knitting content episode. So, have a great day. Bye.